This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. This is another important video, so make sure you understand what the narrative and the message is of this story. You may have heard a lot, even during the strike in Hollywood, about celebrities pretending to be against artificial intelligence. Story after story after story has come out, whether it's a Hollywood actor or a musician claiming that AI is stealing their voice. So on the surface, it looks like, oh, celebrities and musicians out there are anti-artificial intelligence, but that's not what they actually are. By them coming out and constantly crying and constantly trying to sue big tech companies over AI legal, what they're considering AI rights, it's actually setting the stage for AI rights. And these aren't rights to protect you. These are rights to protect artificial intelligence. And this, once again, is what purpose the celebrities serve. They end up getting people on board with these types of notions, but people don't realize what it really means. They just think, oh, ScarJo is going to sue Google because they're using her voice in a video. And I'll show you the story in a second about how ScarJo is going to shape the face of artificial intelligence as far as what's legal, what's not, what likenesses can be used, and what ones can't, how they can use this and how they can't use that. And people go, well, that's good. We need that. We need rules and legislation against AI. But the ultimate point of them doing this is to actually get the world to recognize artificial intelligence as something that should have the right to exist and should have autonomy. And this sets the stage for artificial intelligence to have rights, treating them the same eventually as humans. It's not going to start out that way, but once there's laws put in place in regards to AI, you could throw out the removal of AI completely in the trash can. And really what the debate should be is that, wait, you know what? Artificial intelligence seems really dangerous. People can create very easy deepfakes that people will fall for very easily. We see that people can mimic other people's voices, which again is something I'll get into with the Micah Miller story for those of you that are familiar with it, because it's all headed towards this with what's legal and what's not with AI. But once you recognize AI as an existing body, once laws are put in place, there's no longer the right to remove AI from society. There's no longer the civilians' rights to say who is giving these tech people, who is giving them legislation or who is giving them the rights to create this. Nobody asks for it. What does it do to betterment humanity? And of course, there's no right answer to that because it does nothing to betterment humanity. But you can hear all of them talk about, well, it is good in the long run for humanity because it'll help us with medicines and it'll help us with, figuring out problems because humans can't figure them out. So everybody goes, oh, okay, well, they're telling us that there's benefits to AI, even though they're saying in the same sentence that AI could eventually wipe out and replace humanity. Having laws in place is not to protect us from AI. It is to protect AI from us. And I know it sounds comical, but eventually AI will have more rights than we do. So I'll get into the story, but let's just look at who's pushing this right now, because it's ScarJo. Scarlett Johansson, another puppet of the New World Order. She's married to Colin Jost, who is the non-funny, comedic news anchor on Saturday Night Live related to the Kennedys, another part of the bloodline. We've seen ScarJo on magazine covers flat out holding up the Baphomet head, very similar to the Marina Abramovich picture, holding up the goat head, right? Because this is what they do out in the open, right? And of course, we've seen ScarJo doing all-seeing eye symbolism many times in many different photographs, many different poses. A lot of people never mention ScarJo, maybe because a lot of people like ScarJo. Even seeing ScarJo doing the all-seeing eye symbolism on the poster for the movie Lucy. For those of you that don't know the plot of Lucy and everything going on in the world, it's very similar to what's going on with that black goo known as graphene oxide, because literally the film is about, here's the plot. When a boyfriend tricks Lucy, of course, Lucifer, the name is deliberately chosen, into delivering a briefcase to a supposed business contact, the once carefree student is abducted by thugs who intend to turn her into a drug mule. She is surgically implanted with a package containing a powerful chemical, graphene oxide, but it leaks into her system, giving her superhuman abilities, including telekinesis and telepathy. Wow, it sounds a lot like what we hear going on with the Neuralink, right? With this nanotech inside of human beings' bodies, they suddenly have telekinesis, they're doing telepathy out in the open. And people go, wow, they're controlling their computer with their mind. Oh, right, a form of witchcraft. People with superhuman powers. I've talked about this many times, so many of you understand that. So that's the plot of the movie Lucy. Don't be suspicious. ScarJo, of course, is in it. And of course, ScarJo is another government asset. We've seen ScarJo also doing many poses, holding up the monarch butterfly because this is a government operative. So the story is that ScarJo is going after ChatGPT. And again, as you've seen, a lot of celebrities out there are standing up against AI. And this isn't celebrities standing up for human rights. This is celebrities going after AI so that laws could be put in place to protect us from AI, and on the flip side, to protect AI from us. And what we're seeing normalized with artificial intelligence is fallen angels technology out in the open. Demonic technology that they're telling us, everybody out there goes, what is AI? I don't know what AI is, right? I showed you the video with Gordy Rhodes, which he continually flags. Gordy Rhodes continually flags my videos and removes them, and removes at least his section of the video from my videos because I point out exactly what he's saying. He openly talks about little demons inside of this that is artificial intelligence, these things that they summon, why they need the earth cool, right, with the quantum computing. But here's a story from ScarJo about regulations coming for AI, because they're going to continue to do this over and over and over again, because it's about our rights, right? Wink, wink. It's not about our rights at all. It's about establishing AI as an actual thing, establishing AI as having the right to exist, giving it autonomy.
A new controversy tonight in the world of artificial intelligence, as one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars says her voice was copied without her consent by one of the most powerful AI companies. Actress Scarlett Johansson claims OpenAI's ChatGPT mimicked her voice for its latest personal assistant program. CBS's Jolene Kent has the tale of AI imitating art, imitating life.
Scarlett Johansson says she was shocked and angered when she heard a voice which sounded an awful lot like her.
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Johansson is calling out OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, saying the company's new AI voice, Sky, sounded eerily similar to the virtual assistant she played in the movie Her.
I want to learn everything about everything.
This is Sky.
Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours,
Johansson claims Altman asked her to participate twice, saying he felt my voice would be comforting to people, but she declined the offer. NPR's Bobby Allen broke the story after interviewing OpenAI CTO Mira Murati.
I said, hey, did you guys base this voice off of Scarlett Johansson? And she said, really? I don't even know what that voice sounds like. Then we reach out to Scarlett Johansson and she says, my own family thought it was me.
Last year, Altman said Her is his favorite film.
That was incredibly prophetic.
And on the day of the AI voice launch, he tweeted the word Her. He now says, out of respect for Ms. Johansson, we have paused using Sky's voice in our products. We are sorry to Ms. Johansson that we didn't communicate better. This comes at a time when the use of AI in Hollywood remains a major concern.
This is OpenAI's business model. They troll the entire internet. For every image, they vacuum it up and make many, many, many millions of dollars off of this. Who isn't getting paid? The artists.
And Jolene Kent joins us now, and this isn't the first accusation against AI like this, right?
That's right. OpenAI has been sued by the New York Times, the Authors Guild of America, including John Grisham and David Baldacci, along with various actors and artists. This Scarlett Johansson case is really just the tip of the iceberg. It's about permission to use content and what OpenAI is doing with it, Nora.
The future to come, or it's here. Jolene
It's
Kent,
here.
thank you.
So again, Hollywood has been out there waging a fight against AI because they believe in the union. This is all fake, by the way. Anyone out there thinks this is real? The Hollywood actors out there on strike, pretending as if, well, they're fighting to ensure that they're getting, that they're not getting shunned or they're not getting, they're not getting the proper income that they should be making because AI is replicating their voice. So once again, we establish rights for artificial intelligence. Then we have to acknowledge that AI actually exists. It exists in our world, and we have to accept it into existence by having laws in place instead of saying, how about this? How about we just get rid of AI? immediately. Why don't we just get rid of it? It does not benefit humanity. They know that it does not benefit humanity. It is here to cause the destruction of humanity. But they want to tell you that, well, in the future, modern medicine and stuff, AI is going to help with that, and they're going to help with surgical procedures. And all these suckers out there don't have a clue about AI. They just think it's nothing more than some of the stuff that they've normalized. See, they've given people out there the ability to do deep fakes and the ability to do all these childish things with AI. So everybody's fallen in love with it. All these young teens out there love AI. They use the AI. They mimic celebrities' voices. They do all sorts of things with deep fakes, right? They're very popular videos that people watch. We've seen the Keanu Reeves deep fakes and all the other stuff, Tom Cruise. So they all love it. So they're not going to want to get rid of it. So that's why they released and allowed regular civilians to do that stuff, so that they can come in and instead of saying, hey, we need to get rid of this, like, oh, it's not that harmful, it's just silly stuff. Yeah, we should have laws in place because, yeah, it could be dangerous in some aspects, but it's fun too. So we need it. Instead of just going, everybody who's involved in ChatGPT and AI needs to be arrested immediately for crimes against humanity. It's removing jobs from humans. That's number one reason. Well, it's not the number one reason, but it's a big reason that humans should say, no, we don't need this, because then all these wealthy elites are going to replace us and replace human beings with robots, right? But if you want to take that aspect out of it, we could just say, hey, we've all seen the predictive programming, right? With the Terminator movies, the robot movies, robots going rogue. And in fact, like I've covered before, a lot of shows like 60 Minutes coming out talking about all these weird, crazy scientists that we're supposed to think are smarter than us, who talk about, well, they could eventually kill us. And we're supposed to be like, oh, okay, let's roll out AI, right? Why don't we just let every serial killer out of prison too and leave our doors unlocked? Sounds like the same exact, thought process, right? So the other thing I mentioned earlier was this story. If you don't know this true crime story, they're really promoting this story. And like I always talk about, if they promote a story and people get gripped into the story, there's usually a reason behind it. It doesn't mean that crimes don't actually occur. But this story is very, very shady. And everybody who's following the story with Micah Miller thinks that it's shady, right? So the story is that Micah Miller was the wife of a preacher, a very suspicious preacher, all this damaging stuff. And of course they chose a preacher, right? Because it fits perfectly what they're trying to do with Christianity. So Micah Miller supposedly called 911 to tell them that she was about to kill herself. And the whole story's got holes in it, right? Because everybody around her says she was loving life. She wasn't depressed. She was optimistic about her future. And they showed her going to get a gun. And then her father said that she went to get a gun because she wanted to protect herself from her husband, because the husband was going crazy, right? The husband was sending threats, the same stuff we always hear in these true crime stories, right? So the husband was threatening her. If she went through with the divorce, he was going to go after her. There's video of it all. So it's all out there, right? So she goes and she gets a gun. So everyone's like, why did she go get a gun? Her father's like, well, she told me she was going to go get a gun to protect herself. So then mysteriously, she goes to a park and she calls 911 saying, I'm going to kill myself. It's a very vague 911 call that they conveniently released to the public, right? Why did they release it to the public? Well, they released it to the public so everybody could hear it, right? Duh, obviously, right? But for more reasons than that. So everybody hears it. They're like, she sounds very monotone, right? Hangs up the phone. Moments later, she kills herself, supposedly, because her body is found in a stream. Then there's all stories that come out after the fact. We don't believe she really killed herself. Well, they're like, well, there's a 911 call where she killed herself. There's a 911 call where she says she's going to kill herself, then she kills herself. It's an open, closed case, right? We're out there going, well, not so fast. Not so fast. People who were out there happen to conveniently be a fisherman. They said there was nothing. The water was calm and still, almost like the body was placed in the water. Why did she go to a park? Why did she even call 911, right? Why would she do it at this location out in the middle of the woods in a park? Well, now, if you actually pay attention to the story and you see the other stuff happening, I always tell you, look at the other stories going on around it. Stories about AI regulation and AI laws. This has been happening for well over a year now. And again, this is to make AI an accepted thing in our society, right? Well, how about this with this story? How about this for a plot twist? Because this is where I think it's actually heading. And the only reason I care about the stories, is because there's agendas behind the story. We don't even really know if any of these people really die anyway. But this is looking like it's going to lead towards the husband potentially using an app or some type of AI to recreate her voice and then stage the 911 call. Does that make sense? So in other words, yes, she went and got a gun, but she got a gun for her protection. Then the husband somehow could have lured her into the woods, or she was going out to go on a walk, right? And then the husband ended up killing her, called 911 from her phone using an app. an app that had the ability to capture her voice, which I've covered, that Apple's openly doing with this voice, being able to mimic someone else's voice, take someone's voice and use it. We all know the technology's out there. It's not hidden, right? So say the husband did that and then suddenly killed her and then made it look like a suicide. That's where the story's headed, okay? So that story ties in with the ScarJo story with giving AI rights. Instead of saying, which everyone should do, is, should we continue to allow AI? Is it worth it? I know it's all about entertaining people's minds because people are so dumbed down. As long as they keep entertaining people, they'll continue to be dumb. And every day they'll look to be entertained by deepfakes and other crap. And they go, that's all I need every day. So let's give wicked people the ability to have this technology. And then we'll put in regulations, right? And then eventually we'll see people like me, if I actually showed my face, they could do deep fakes of me and say that I committed some crime and everyone will believe it. And then some people who listen to me will be like, no, they deep faked him and nobody would believe, and this is what it's going to eventually lead to in society. So there's no good to come out of this. It's extremely dangerous tech. And they obviously don't want to get rid of this technology. So by ScarJo and something like the Micah Miller case, suddenly you start putting regulations in place, which means that we have to accept technology now. That we have to accept this as a reality, we have to accept the existence of it, and we have to have autonomy, right? So it starts off with protecting us, but it's really about protecting them, because the more stories we hear about, okay, now these laws are in place to protect humans, you'll start hearing stories about protecting AI. Because the more we start hearing about people dating AI, and it's laughable, but there's stories out there about artificial girlfriends, right? AI girlfriends, AI friends. Oh, does AI have feelings, right? We hear these stories day in and day out, which I'll continue to cover so you can watch how they're normalizing it. So then suddenly people start going, and we see the transition, right, of how people have grown cold of one another, but they're in love with their tech. That's what it's headed towards. So then it'll be, well, we got to protect the AI because now we're seeing that AI is real and it does have feelings and people are adopting feelings for, AI and have AI girlfriends. So now we need rights for them to protect them from us. Because really what should be happening is we should be hunting down AI and destroying robots, destroying AI, going to Boston Dynamics, all these places that make these robots that are dangerous and can be dangerous to society, but they give us video clips and we're supposed to go, that's cool, a robot doing a backflip. We should be going, no, because what if these things are let loose on the public? They go, oh, that's never going to happen. You're a conspiracy nut. Until it happens. And then all those people just go, oopsies, right? Well, the rest of us are trying to protect humanity from these psychopaths in power who literally are creating Skynet around us. So that's what we're headed towards. Should AI and humans be treated the same under the law? These are things that are out there. Should AI have rights, right? You could go into YouTube and do a search about AI rights. Look at some of these big popular YouTubers. This one guy, Lex Clips, somebody who gets, lots of views. Should robots have rights? Oh, should robots have rights? So they're bringing this discussion out into the open with major YouTubers, with very popular influencers on TikTok, etc. AI ethics, right? Other stories that are out there. Should AI have rights again and again and again? Should AI have the ability to do this? So this is ultimately about, like I said, that sentence I said earlier, and I've repeated it a few times. Once the world recognizes AI as something that should have the right to exist, then it has autonomy. And it shouldn't have the right to exist. We should get rid of it. And the people creating it, shouldn't there be regulations? Shouldn't we have background checks on them? They ask for background checks on regular civilians to buy something to protect their home. And they go, oh yeah, well, this guy's into conspiracy theory, so he might go and do an event at a school. So we should remove it from his home while we're letting criminals run amok, right? How about the people creating this? Do we know the background of them? Should we know? And they're like, even if they heard that notion, it shouldn't be allowed to exist. But how about at least background checks out in the open? We know they would make them up. But why don't people think like this is my point? Why don't people go, okay, they're creating this stuff. They're programming it, right? So in other words, if Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy or Ted Bundy was creating these things, somebody who you don't know is a murderer was creating these things, shouldn't we know who's creating them? And they go, oh yeah, but you don't have to worry about them. They'll give you a fake background story if people start to rise up against it. They'll just put propaganda out there telling us who these people are, telling us how great they are. No, don't worry about it. They're not really going to do anything, right? Oh, until something happens, they go, oh, right, maybe we should have done a background check. How about just not even a background check, just remove the technology? But they're allowed to do this stuff unregulated, make these things, create these things, unleash it into the world, just like we see these companies doing stuff in our atmosphere. Who's given them authority over the air? Oh, right, the prince of the power of the air, the one they worship, Lucifer, right? Who's giving them authority to dump chemicals on us every day? They'd say it's water vapor. Oh, right. We're not supposed to pay attention to that. What we're supposed to pay attention to is free speech, like the free speech that I'm trying to express here. And then we need to silence that, because that's the concern that the sheeple have been trained to be concerned with, people like us. When in reality, this tech should not exist, and we should stop it from existing. But they don't want you to think like that, do they? Does ScarJo want you to really think like that? Do you think ScarJo's really against AI and Google? Of course not. This is the celebrities pretending that it's, well, we're here to stand up for humanity, right? They're going, oh, ScarJo's, seen doing the shh and other symbols, right? I showed you the monarch butterfly in the beginning, along with the, the blade and all-seeing eye symbolism, the Baphomet symbols, literally holding goat horns, right? She cares about us, right? No, that's the point. Once they start putting laws in place and the celebrities will pretend like they're the ones who are fighting for human rights and they'll garner more support, then it sets precedent to have laws in place to protect AI. And it might sound crazy in 2024, but by 2025, 2026, 2027, again, how mind control works, the more stories that are out there, everyone will agree and they'll say, yeah, we do need rights for it. And I'll say, wait, I was talking about how this is what it was going to lead towards. And like, so what? It should lead towards it. Instead of saying, right, now all of a sudden, AI has the same rights as human beings. AI, you can't speak against AI. You can't go and destroy AI. You can't build a giant EMP to zap them out. That'll be considered against the law. That's why I've been mentioning about building out EMPs, things that we have to think about in the future if we want to survive here on Earth. Now, I know most people don't want to be here anyway, but when push comes to shove and one of these things is at your front door, okay, you're probably not going to want to bend over for it. You're certainly not going to want to get in their paddy wagon, their electric vehicle, to get taken down to the FEMA camp, are you? So keep an eye on these stories. Keep an eye on that Micah Miller story. It's something I'll probably cover on my Wake Up Call channel so people out there can start understanding it more. Because, again, if you look at that story, it's a perfect, there's going to need to be stories like this. Why? Because they need to get people on board with the legislation. Instead of just going, whoa, why don't we get rid of AI? No, well, don't think like that. We'll come in with AI laws and they go, oh, okay, all right, there'll be laws for AI so we can't have people doing stuff like that guy thought he was going to get away with the perfect murder, right? Using an app to, he captured his wife's voice, then he pretended to be his wife, then he killed his wife. He almost got away with murder, right? So let's get laws in place so we can track and monitor who's downloading these apps, et cetera, et cetera. And everyone will just agree with that because they'll be thrilled that this guy ends up being guilty of murder instead of realizing, whoa, wait a minute. This type of tech's really dangerous because guess who's going to use it against you? The government is at the end of the day. But it shouldn't even be in existence in the first place. So that's where I believe the Micah Miller story is going. It's a story that's quietly getting a lot of attention, and they need a story like that. They need stories like ScarJo to get civilians to start going, hey, we want rights against AI. We got to protect ourselves against AI. The Micah Miller story will get people way on board with that before ScarJo's story does. Okay, because people are very emotionally gripped into these stories about women whose husbands do this, and rightfully so in a sense. I mean, should be gripped into any of the stories because for the most part, we don't know if any of these stories are actually real, right? I would definitely believe that this possibly wasn't real based on the agenda behind it, based on the way they're leaking the story. They're telling you it's a straight up suicide, et cetera, et cetera. And all the people online think that they're sleuths because they're like, there's too much stuff that shows that he did it, right? Well, that's what they want you to do. And they want you to continue to get attached, ask for more investigation, ask for this, ask for that. Then you start thinking to yourself, wait, AI? You hear a video like this, you're like, oh, could he have used AI? Oh, right. Then you really demand change and legislation. Instead of going, let's get rid of it, you start going, let's put rules in place so this can't happen again and we can protect poor women from crazy men, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody emotionally gets attached. Then we have laws in place for AI, and the next thing you know, it gets flipped on you. The laws are really to protect AI from us. And that's the truth of the matter. Whether anyone likes it or not, that's the truth. That's what the news is used for, to manipulate you into passing legislation, to passing agendas, to getting you on board with things. They play on your emotions. It's psychosis. That's what the news is used for. It's used to condition you, not to inform you. I thank you for being here. Hope you're all doing well. Share this video. Wake up a friend. Trying to build the channel out, so any help is always appreciated. Appreciate everyone who is here, though. God bless all of you, as always, and your families.